Hello and welcome to the Final Bell podcast. It is great to have you with us for another week. We are brought to you, as we are each and every week, by our friends at Morris, personal finance solutions, expert advice and finance specialists, all in one place. I'm joined by Meg McDonald. Meg, hello.
Hey Lingy, how you going?
Really
feeling
well,
good?
thank you. Yeah, great.
Feeling good.
After watching that footy on a Saturday night,
I know.
I was sitting on the boundary. I was working there for Channel 7. I had to put on my slightly neutral hat and give opinions both ways. Deep down inside, I was just bubbling with excitement.
I love knowing that about you. I can't remember now. I'm going to screw it up because I can't remember what point in my obviously rewatch of the match you said something about a free kick and you sort of like suggested perhaps should have gone to the Bulldogs, and I was like, oh, Lingy, still in the groundwork. Well done, mate. Because in the second half, it's just going to flow from you.
You mean the clear one where Mark Blitzarves is having the shot on a bit of an angle and around the body shot, and Brian...
That one, that's what it was.
Pulls the Bulldogs opponent backwards. I'm like...
Another goal assist.
Either he's in the protected area, the Bulldogs player, I think it was Jack McRae, and it should be 50.
Yeah,
or
totally.
It's holding the man.
You made a great point.
Anyway, happy for the umpire to have missed that one.
Yeah, but it was a great night. Oh, my goodness.
It was. We're going to talk all about that game. We're perhaps going to do almost, as the team heads into a bye, a little bit of a mid-season review, where the team... we'll go post-bye, what we've observed so far to this point of the season. We will get to all the questions a little bit later on as well. We love when our listeners send those questions in. The game, though, it was a ripping game of football. Half-time, Meg, were you thinking this is super fast-paced, high energy, high skill, both teams at a really high level of quality, but I'm worried whether or not we're the ones who might drop away given what we were missing through the middle of the ground? Did you have doubts that we could sustain that level?
Yeah, not really. I sort of looked at the first half and I thought, well, my concern was that it looked like some creativity had been re-injected and everyone was backing each other. And I want to get to what Chris Scott said during the week in a minute, but I'm thinking, I love that we're doing a few different things. I love a couple of barrels down the middle. We're looking to take it on.
More than a couple.
But the week that you start doing that sort of stuff isn't possibly necessarily the week it'll suddenly come off for you. So I was like, I love the changes that I'm seeing. Whether we'll be able to bring it together, I'm less sure of. And I was probably concerned that Tim English was going to single-handedly win the game. He was just...
Wasn't he?
He was just unbelievable. But shouldn't have feared.
No, you're right. Tim English was superb. Caleb Daniel was excellent for them with his creativity. I was just... You know that nagging little worry when you look out there and you see the Bulldogs midfield of Bontempelli and Bailey Smith and Libber and Jack McRae and all these players, you think, oh, hang on, if this continues at this pace and this level of intensity, are the Dogs just going to creep ahead?
Yeah.
Now, I needn't worry because I just thought that second half was just a superb example of sustained intensity, pressure, execution under pressure as well by the Cats, and eventually a fantastic win. You noted Chris Scott. You felt a subtle shift in messaging and the way that he was getting this team ready for this game.
Yeah, well, sort of as part of my day job and just a super fan, I was watching the Chris Scott Friday press conference before the game, and I loved how it ended about 12, 15 minutes in when, and I've written it down so that we can revisit. I think the question was, do you think the side has lost their ruthless edge after the success of last season? And the bit in his response that I liked was that he said, if anything, if I had to guess, and he said this stuff is a guess because it's so vague, I think that maybe we have our feet on the ground a little bit too much. Some of our players are just a little too passive in the way they go about it, and maybe they do need to play with a confidence that befits their status within the game. They're not rookies anymore. They're not feeling their way into the game. They're really hardened, high-level, A-grade footballers, so we want them to show that. And I was like, I love that so much. I think I really felt it spoke to the humility that we feel around this place that has afforded us, I feel like, so much success. And I feel the quality of the club, and you've been part of this team for longer than I have, but you see these teams that have these peaks like a Collingwood or a Richmond, and the fervent kind of like love for each other, and they ride that wave all the way. And I don't necessarily, it's not that our guys don't love each other, but they're so professional and so experienced at getting the job done that I don't feel that they play off that sort of same emotion. As I said, way out on the outside here. So when I heard that and I thought, I love that it's just that little injection of.
So what you're talking about is, rather than riding that emotional high of, you know, all that momentum, there's a more levelness to the way.
Thank you, yes.
Which I think makes sure that there's no big drop off, as in bottoming out.
Well, it's the reason that you've
levelness.
had such consistent, sustained success for over a decade.
Yeah, but then what Chris Scott, I think, is alluding to is also at the same time maintain that levelness, maintain that humility, but also have that deep belief that not only are you just an up and coming, you're one of the best players in the competition, or as a team, the best team in the competition on last year and heading into this year. So have that belief, which I love. And then you see some of the players to play outstanding games on the back of that type of messaging. Tom Stewart, back to his absolute All-Australian best. Jeremy Cameron just had influence on the game. You saw Mark Blitzarv stand up time and time again when asked to then take on the ruck role, the midfield role, whatever he was doing. The very best players in the team stood up like they were the very best players in the competition, which they are. Yeah,
absolutely. And, you know, that was going to be my question too. Who's you speaking to with that message? Because I absolutely think it's those players, and you see the response of a Stewie, and I mean, how good that he kicked that goal. But even before that, you're thinking I got a text message from my dad halfway through the game that was like, Stewart is the most underrated kick in the game. His foot skills are elite. And you can't help, like, he's picking off. I love when they showed the behind the goals footage on the broadcast, and you think, oh, he's just kicked that to Grian in the middle of, or whoever it was, in the middle of 4 Dogs players. So I think he was speaking to those players. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to jump in. You just mentioned his name. I think also Scotty was talking to those players, Grian Myers, the players who now aren't almost in exactly what you read out. They're not rookies anymore. Yeah. They are premiership players and highly important premiership players. And let's use Grian as an example. And I think Luke Beveridge even singled him out in his press conference post-match, the most elite kick inside forward 50
45%,
is hitting a target. And even when the opposition know that it's probably going to be a late little change and a short kick, they still don't know where the hell he's going.
No,
with
like
it.
that one to Tanner, I was like, that's genius. That is so good. So yeah, I think he's speaking to those people too. But then you look at like Mitch Nevitt, and you're like, you know, I think in the post-match he was saying, I don't care how many games of football you've played, you're a big, strong guy. And, you know, within the system, I remember that play where he took, obviously his tackling was awesome. The goal to take that moment on was awesome. But then the kicks he was executing into the middle of the ground to set other people up and just backing it in, I thought, yeah, this is another guy who's, you know, possibly played his best game for the Cats.
And there was jumps by a number of players, like even Tanner Bruin, who we've been really excited about throughout the year. And, you know, the game down here was at the Crows game where we really thought he took over late in the game. But again, 12 tackles he has in a really quality game against the Bulldogs, fast-paced, fast-track.
Yeah.
He was excellent.
You look at his highlights and he's just on liver the whole time. Like, it was awesome.
So big steps there. They head into a bye now. They head into the weekend off, and no doubt some players are going to go and try and get some sunshine. Some players will go and play golf. Some players will go and just spend a few days away with the family, take the kids somewhere, whatever it might be, clear their heads, come back, and they're playing Port Adelaide in Adelaide. Huge challenge given the way Port Adelaide are playing. Players will come back in. I think Chris Scott was quite open that he expects Paddy Dangerfield to be right. Mitch Duncan, a huge chance to be back after the bye. Even Maxie Holmes might be back. He alluded to that.
Bo's played VFL, I believe.
Yes, played very well in the VFL. Yep. So it's now a setup, and I don't want to jump too far because I know there is a question about this a bit later on. But now there becomes more pressure for spots again. You've got these players who've demonstrated on Saturday night as our example that they've played really good footy against good opposition in a quality game, and now there's a couple starting to trickle back in. The positivity of pressure for spots can be there, but also a little bit of like, oh, hang on, I did the job.
Totally,
Why am I getting tipped out? So that's a real fine balancing act for the coaches, isn't it?
Yeah, it absolutely is. I think Scotty said as much in his post-match. He sort of said, yes, post-bye, we've got these players coming back. Good luck to us working out who goes out from a team that's performed as well as they have. But I think, that's been a strength and a blessing and a good problem for the team to have had in recent years. And I think, the first half of the season just teaches you that you're not going to have your best 22 available at all times, never mind who that best 22 is. So it's a challenge, but we can't be complaining about that considering where we've come from. I remember last year, over the off season, thinking we're bringing all these great players into a team that's unbeatable in inverted commas.
Basically only lost the skipper, Joel Selwood. And so it's going to create that pressure. But I think you've seen even in recent history the dynasty type teams or mini dynasty teams like Richmond and Hawthorn and that, their VFL team were always very good through that period and winning premierships. So there was that genuine pressure for spots. Speaking of the VFL, they did go down this week to Footscray. I love the fact that the Doggies have still got their VFL team as Footscray. Yep. Bit of a nod to the past there. 58-point winners to the Dogs. Jack Bowes, you mentioned him, Meg, had 28 touches. Great to see him come back and find a bit of the footy. They are 11th of 21.
It's crazy.
Get your head around that.
How many play not heaps play finals?
I'm assuming top 8, is it?
Top 8?
I actually don't know, but it's still okay. There could be a bit of a play-in situation like we have in the NBA, with 10th and 9th having an opportunity to squeeze in there. It's still, don't get me started on the strangeness of that competition, 21 teams. I'm sure that'll work out over the coming years. But the team obviously sitting a bit back on the ladder, but at times have shown some really good form and are building a group of players that are going to have the opportunity at different times throughout the season to prove themselves. The VFLW, Meg, they went down to Casey.
First of a string of home games, unfortunately, down 14-35.
15 shots at goal to Casey against our 4, so not our best game.
Yeah, the ball lived, I know, maybe credit to the defence, but it was, I think, difficult to move the ball from end to end. As I said last week, you've got a changing face of the VFLW team as AFLW players come out, and I think there are other commitments, whether it's Falcons or under-23 things for those girls. So a challenge. They sit second on the ladder going into the bye, but they've got Hawthorn, Collingwood and Willie to come. So I think they're guaranteed to play finals, but you want to be going in on some form.
Yes, still some work to be done. Hopefully they can get back on the winners list. Before we go to the break, before we head to some questions, as I said, I want to do a little bit of just a quick mid-season look. Let's not yet go past the bye week because I know there's a question or two about that and where we look ahead. Let's just go in review just for a couple of minutes. As we sit on the ladder right now, 6-6, we've got Port Adelaide in Adelaide after the bye. We've got Melbourne down here, which will be a huge game, and Sydney in Sydney to come. I know we gave the Swans a big touch-up when it was down here, but they're starting to get a couple of players back as well. So a challenging little run for the Cats post-bye. But to this point in time, 6-6 on a win-loss perspective is not necessarily where we would love to be. But how have you rated the first 12 games of the season, which include 2 patches of 3 losses in a row?
Yeah, it's hard not to then go back and think, all right, these were the injury of we've been riddled by injury and all that sort of stuff. I think the one that stands out to me is a bit of not an anomaly, but one where I thought we would win that we didn't win was the GWS game down here. I don't think we played extremely well in that game, and to drop one at home was challenging, but to turn it around. Not
when we compare what we saw on Saturday night and that energy and that electricity and the pressure of the way we played compared to the just almost sort of lacklusterness of that Giants game.
Yes. So I think that's the only real standout for me. I don't know. I've struggled, and this is, I don't know if I'm just being a super fan here and getting behind the Cats, but But to go from a team that enters the season, yes, you've started late and you have all the challenges of injury, but the team was, I used the word before, I know Joel used it when he was retiring, a team that's almost unbeatable at the moment. The level that they were at last September, but like there's injury, but other than that, not much has changed from potential, I feel. So I look at it and I think, you know, we're still not in a lot of the conversations that you're hearing around footy about who's going to go well in top 4 come the end of the year. But I'm like, I just look at the list and I look at how we're going and how we've managed to get to 6 and 6, and I don't think there's anything barring us from going well. But this, you know, I'm straying forwards and you've said...
No, that's okay. That's okay. I like where you're headed. I feel
like the baseline's there.
And through that 6 and 6 patch of what we've done so far, Esava Radigalea, who's unfortunately injured at the moment, but has shown really good signs as a defender. Now, whether or not Chris Scott and the team settle on a particular defence going forward, Esava's shown he belongs at AFL level and can play really well in defence. Mitch Nevitt, we've had a look at him. Ollie Dempsey at times as a sub has worked really well. We got a little glimpse of Jai Clark, and he was always going to be brought along slowly within the group. We've seen Ollie Henry play some really good games and some good moments, and then disappear in games as he's learning that connection between a brand new team. We've seen Tanner Bruin play early, get dropped, play great VFL footy, come back, and then have a big impact again. So he's gone on a bit of a journey of finding his place in the team, understanding a system. We just assume good players like Ollie Henry and Tanner Bruin are going to plug straight in. It's so much harder than that. Learning where to run, running patterns. Is that player going to turn on his right, on his left? He might be a left footer, but turn the other way strangely because he then wants to fake and turn back onto his left. Yeah. Understanding all of that is what Tanner and Ollie have had to learn. And we're seeing, I think in that first 12 games, we've exposed players to the group and to the system that will set them up for a really good launch in the back half of the year. Now, health is going to play a huge part in that, and connection of the group and unity of the group is going to play a huge part. But the elements that have been exposed to AFL level in the first half of the year, I think is going to set the team up really well. I
completely agree. And there are definitely points in the past, or the first 12 weeks, where you think, you know, if you go back to how individuals playing, there was a bit of talk about this with other teams. Is every individual able to improve? I reckon you could have looked at the team and thought, on an individual basis, no one's playing their best footy. But I find we're sitting here now at the bye and thinking, for almost the whole team, your best footy's within reach. Or like you've seen more and more glimpses of it in recent weeks. Stewie's back to playing really well. Grind's leading the competition. Brad Close was a bit iffy early. He's now back, you know. And you've still got Jezza, even though he's cooled off a little bit.
He's still the best player in the competition.
He's still the best player in the comp. He's still leading the Coleman. Hawks back up there.
Tom Atkins has returned to that real level, consistent, hard level, probably for the last even 5 or 6 weeks. Through the losses, he hasn't dropped off at all.
Blitz has been up against it, playing, I think, more ruck earlier in the season than he has been in the past. But when he has 3 shots on goal on the weekend, so I'm finding it hard not to be positive looking into
absolutely.
the bye.
All right, give me the top 3 in the Kaji Greaves medal to this point in the season. I know.
I was looking and thinking, God, I have to revisit how the voting works. But I'm loving Gryan. I think Gryan's Gryan or Jez.
Of course.
I don't know. What do we value? Tommy Atkins, he's gone really well.
We value so much of what the players do, but I think just for high-end votes, with a charge probably for the last 5 weeks, Tom Stewart's still flown home enough for me to be sitting in the top 3. That'd be my top 3. We missing
Gryan
anyone?
In with you?
Gryan? Yeah, no, I certainly do. I probably
one across each line.
I know I didn't ask for it in order. But I think Gryan would be in 3rd.
Yep.
I think Jez would be 1, Stewart 2, and Gryan 3rd. I'm possibly missing out on someone there. But
the commentary team was speaking about his inaccuracy on the weekend. I was like, you've missed the point. You have missed the point.
Don't stir up my current teammates. Yes, I did notice that. A couple of times I wanted to chime in. That's where I bite my tongue. Because I'm going, if I was nearly flicking my little mic on going, Yeah, but he's number one in the competition for score or assist, and he does it. Okay, that's when the social media avalanche comes for bias Cameron Ling from Geelong. So just bite my tongue and move on. Speaking of biting my tongue, I'm about to move on. You mentioned, Meg, though, that you are flat out at the moment because you're pre-season.
Yep.
You do your day job, as you call it, what title again? Communications
manager.
Manager of the Geelong Football Club. Plus you jump on this podcast. You've got everything going on at the moment. Life is busy.
Life is busy, mate, but it's busy enough without more life admin. I tell you what, that's why Morris is now bringing their personal approach to personal finance. Their team is here to help you finance your next lifestyle asset with their free person-to-person service designed to find a financial deal that works best for you. So call Morris today on 1300 4MORRIS or head to morrisfinance.com.au. And, you can't be... I've found myself too busy to even jump on the website, but I need to do that. You know what they say about this is slightly off topic, but I'm sure the people at Morris will appreciate this. Everyone should spend 20 minutes a day. Is it Zen? Mindfulness? Everyone should spend 20 minutes a day on mindfulness unless you're too busy, in which case you should spend an hour on it.
An hour? Okay.
You see what they're doing there?
No, I like that. I like the sound of it. I've got to start with the 20-minute part.
That's my commitment.
Maybe I've got to shift more to an hour.
Morris. Go to morrisfinance.com.au. Yeah, get on the hour.
Beautifully done, Meg. Righto, speaking of mindfulness and Zen, let's take a quick break. We won't get our 20 minutes break, but let's take a quick break and we come back with some questions where we might be able to start forecasting ahead a little bit. Welcome back. It is great to have you with us on To the Final Bell, the official Geelong Cats podcast. We are brought to you every week by our friends at Morris. We really appreciate all of their support. Just gives us an opportunity to be able to talk cats for the week, Meg. Cats. I love it.
I know. And they said I had a bit of an average day yesterday, Lingy. I just did a few things. I slept past my alarm. I spilt water all over my laptop as soon as I arrived at work. I was just having a mare. And then my teammate last night was like, "How's your day been? How's tomorrow going to be?" And I was like, you know what? Podcast in the morning. It's going to be a great day. Talk about the cats. Feel good.
Nice. Just because we get to hang out, is that?
That's it.
Yeah. Sure. All right, let's get to some questions. We absolutely love everyone sending the questions in, so please keep them coming. I promise it all the time. I'll try and get to as many as we possibly can. I am conscious of time, but I do love hearing what you want to hear about. Okay, this one. This is from Ariel, the Little Mermaid. Where do you see Osheen playing the majority of his time?
Osheen.
Osheen?
Osheen?
It is Osheen.
Osheen.
Osheen. Sorry.
Where do I see him playing? I always feel like a fool when it comes to this sort of stuff or too obvious. You know what I mean? He's great at half back, keeping it half back. But then they seem to be quite inventive down in the coach's box. I just think his speed, if his kicking at the moment is an RFI.
Yeah.
But if it's anything like other Irishmen, I mean, the more often he kicks, it won't take long before it's elite. So
you can see how elite his fellow Irishman Zach Tui is.
Exactly right.
And even getting under the left and tricking everybody very nicely for a goal. Mark O'Connor's kicking's just got better and better. They pick it up so quickly in general.
I think he's a Zach Tui prototype. Half-back, wing.
Yeah. I feel like patiently keeping him with the game in front of him and playing across half-back will be the best thing for his development. But I'm with you. He could easily go into the middle of the ground.
He's got the body for it.
Yeah.
He's just like a little bull.
I reckon it was so good to watch him because he had that fantastic debut down here where he really looked comfortable. And then at times on Saturday night, he looked super comfortable. And then at times it was, wow, this is fast. This is fast and physical and it's closing him down. And that sort of just the decision-making was, I'm only talking a fraction of a second off.
Yep.
Now, for anyone in this second game of football, it's going to be...
Forgivable.
Yeah, I kicked the ball out in the full from 0 metres out in my second game at that exact ground. Everything is happening so fast, so rushed. It's just... And I noticed little elements of that on Saturday night. Again, completely fine. But he still had moments in a fast-paced, high-intensity game where he was comfortable.
Yeah, it was fantastic. And the other thing about the Irish players is they're such good snaps. They're so adept at kicking around the body and they can do it on both sides of the body. Having said that, playing as a small forward, obviously, if you're your fave, Toby Green, your footy IQ, and I think we're going to get to one of these questions, is it's got to be through the roof. So I don't know, you can't – we've got Rach in our team trying to come in as a small forward, and it's I don't know how you come into an AFL team for the first time in that position, but skill-wise, I just think they're – we saw it in his first game. You having a ping. They just have a ping, which I think a lot of people say that comes from – they so rarely score goals in their game, so they're much more comfortable being like, a score's a score. I will have a crack at the big sticks.
I think you're right. I think even the very best small forwards to ever play the game still had big patches of games and through their career where you just disappear and you get lost. And I'm talking about some of the greatest to ever play the game still have patches where you're just out of the game. Yeah. So while you're learning the game, that is very, very hard to get a sense of where am I supposed to run, what am I supposed to do. So I think behind the ball's better, but I do see with him the attributes and his comfort level early with a bit of chaos and pace and that around him, that the middle inside midfield with the ability like Zach's done to be on the wing as well is well within his skill range. Absolutely. This one, Samuel. Actually, it's a combo question, Samuel and Seb, but I'll start with the first part. Samuel, is Gryan in the AA squad at this point? We're going to be releasing this afternoon, and we are recording this on Tuesday. So tomorrow, Wednesday, is the first All-Australian meeting, which I'm a selector. We get together and probably put in that first squad 50 names. Okay. And that 50 names is to establish a point. To this point in the season, they have been excellent, so that we don't have recency bias in the meeting at the end of the season and we forget how good they were in the first half of the season. Yep. So at this point in time, when I walk out of the meeting tomorrow, Meg, and we've got 50 names on the board, is Gryan Myers' name on that board?
Oh, I thought you were going to ask yourself then.
No, I'm asking you.
Is this the last day that you can comment without bias, or whatever legally? I don't know.
No, I think I can happily talk about it.
Oh, great. We love that. Yes. I think he's got to be in this squad. I mean, I don't know how many stats get looked at in that, but obviously his goal assist tallies are potentially record breaking, I hear. What's he at? Is he at 20 or so?
20 goals to this point. The record, Jason Ackermanis, the great Jason Ackermanis, had 41 goal assists in a season. Yeah. So he's got some accurate
kicks helping him out as well, like once he gives it off. He's on track. When you're the best in the comp at an inside 50 kick and the best goal assist, you've got to be in the conversation. I'd like to think, I assume you've got to kick a few more than 3 goals, but
yeah, that's going to be the challenge. So I'm with you, is that level of creativity, and he's running power up and down the ground as well. It's not just the kick inside forward 50. But then he will be seen as a small forward, and you go 3 goals. Yeah, it's not enough. But I believe it's so much more than just 3 goals. He's effectively.
You can do it for us, Lingy.
He's kicked 23 goals. He's set up 20, and he's kicked 3 himself, and these are direct goal assists.
Yes, not just score involvements.
Score involvements would be even higher again. I think he's got to be there. There's some very, very good small forwards. You probably throw Toby Green in as a small forward, though he's kind of hybrid because he can go overhead. Charlie Cameron's almost hybrid as well. Charlie plays so deep out of the goal square. He's almost a full forward as well. There's
Rankin's going well, isn't he?
Yeah, Isaac Rankin's been outstanding. So lots of challenge, but
over to you on that one.
Yes,
I'll just get it done.
Okay, this was said follow on Seb. Can we get Gryan Myers to take an IQ test? We may have a genius on our hands. I do love, and I do radio, breakfast radio here in Geelong with K-Rock, and Brad Johnson comes in on a Monday morning. Great man, Brad Johnson, one of the most beautiful people in footy. And, of course, he wasn't so happy with the result on the weekend, given it was the Bulldogs against the Cats.
He likes the Cats, though, doesn't he?
He does.
Against other teams, he really likes the Cats.
Really likes the Cats, but, he was dirty. We missed this one and we wasted this one. And then he got on to, and we all know that Gryan's going to kick the ball short and hit up someone inside forward 50, and all of our defenders are all sagging back. And I said to him, but I don't think anyone knows where the ball is going with Gryan except Grime.
Yeah. No, well, and I think everyone ahead of him just thinks, I could be on here.
Yeah, I'll get free.
Yeah.
Because I'm a chance.
Yeah. No, and, when you talk about footy IQ, when you're not he's an incredible runner, but he's not blessed with height and all those things. And, from a young age, I'm sure he's had to make that his strength. You've got to be a smart athlete if you're not going to be the biggest, most bullish one. So, little kids out there.
I still say, all those kids out there, don't kick like him. But it works so unbelievably well for him, and it adds to his IQ level. As you said, he's scanning and seeing those targets, and the shape of his kicking style, it just looks like he's going to go longer.
Yeah.
And then he pulls that little kick, and he pulls it, but he doesn't just pull it across the body. He can also pull it outside the body, which I hope I'm making sense with that. That is so difficult to do.
Oh, he's great. And again, to all the kids out there, I will say, as I said, I'm in the club most days a week, and he practices in that kick room like no one else. Or maybe not no one else, but he's regularly, CBA day off, he's in there with doing his kicking drills with James Kelly and
I suppose that's the key message if we're still talking to the kids is every player's got a different kicking style. Some look more traditional than others, but they've all got different kicking styles. It is knowing your kick and then working on your kick to understand every kick that you can make in the game. So then when you spot a target and you make that decision to go to them, you know exactly the way you're going to execute that kick. Yeah. It's a good call by you, Meg. Louise says, to both, who is your favourite opponent?
Individual or team?
Go one of each. Oh, I'm never going to say a team.
Okay.
So
favourite, like one you've got the wood over, or
favourite opponent team is the one that you've just beaten.
Yes. Good point.
No, okay. Individual, please.
I don't know if this is okay. So here's a flag for you. I feel like I've had some success against Taylor Harris. I don't know that she's kicked a goal directly on me. Touch wood. We'll see. I think she kicked 4 behinds here once.
Aggregators will be onto you.
Yeah, we'll see. And then if that's not true, then apologies to Taylor and everyone else. But Taylor has taken her game to the next level since playing at Melbourne. She's in just such freak fitness at the moment. She's had success in the boxing ring, and she just looks like the greatest athlete in the game. And I reckon we will play in Melbourne for the first time ever this year. And I reckon I might. I don't know. I'd have to ask Dan. I reckon I'd probably play on her. So I think that'll be it's a challenge that I'm already setting myself for. I'm in the gym being like, you're going to play on Taylor. You gotta get going here.
You love that challenge. Does that help drive you? The thought of, I'm going to play on that player who's so good, but I am going to have this inner belief if I get my game, if I work on I can beat this player.
Yeah, I think that's, I like accepting that challenge there. I could name other players where I think that just run rings around you, but no, I think that's one who's been front of mind recently. Yeah,
Djakovic Carey.
Yeah, that's right. I grew up a North fan, so I don't know too much about Djakovic.
I've crossed paths with both of those people in the years since, and it is so funny when you talk to them individually. Each one thinks they towed up the other one and had the wood over them. Like, sure, I'm pretty sure, one of you might have actually had it.
One of you's won it.
But neither one of them will back down.
And you?
Me? Favourite opponent? I probably for sheer challenge of how to stop him amongst a team that was incredible and truly great that we looked up to, combined with the fact that he's one of the nicest people I've ever met. But when you're playing on him, he's the furthest thing from nice. Probably Simon Black.
Okay, I thought you were going to say
he just a silk runner. He just glides across the ground. Then as tough as nails and as clean as it comes in the contest and smart, everything. Pretty much, you belt him over the head with a baseball bat and he'll still get the footy and still get it out to his teammates. And you knew that if it got out, it was Nigel Lappin or Jason Ackermanis or Voss or any of those, Luke Power on the out. So it just couldn't come out.
Yeah.
And then we'd belt the living daylights out of each other. The siren would go, turn around, and the first thing you said was, so have you been getting a wave lately? Like, I was thinking about bringing the board down if we're playing down here.
That's so good.
Maybe if I do, we'll surf. And we get along great. And any time I run into him, we stop and have a big chat. One of the most brilliant people in footy.
Yeah.
But then we jump back on the field the next time we play each other, and it was, righto, let's go.
Yeah, it's about that respect. I was saying to you that, and I hope this isn't saying something I shouldn't on air, but I was speaking to Tommy Atkins in the rooms after the game, and he just said, Bonce and Liver. He goes, I really like them as players. They're just such good players, and I imagine that you admire, but you also accept the challenge. Yeah. So good of us not to mention people that we didn't rate. Well done us.
Jazzalee, and this is where we're going to look forward. Last thing we do, Meg. What's the starting 22 look like after the bye? So I'm going to give you, I reckon we can squeeze in a bloke named Patrick Dangerfield.
Yeah, he's going all right.
I reckon Mitch Duncan gets back in there.
Yep.
I reckon Maxi Holmes is definitely coming back, as Chris Scott said. Then we throw in Jack Bowes as having been, he's now back, played a really good game in the VFL and was excellent when he was there. We've got Stanley and Guthrie. Let's leave them out for now, as we just a little bit of unknown. And Sav's still a few weeks away. Have I missed anyone?
No, I'm interested as to whether I don't think you missed anyone. Apologies to
I apologise if I have missed someone. But so let's say three have got to come in.
Yeah, so are you thinking, are we thinking from the team that just played against the Bulldogs, what are you changing? Or are you going, and this again maybe going too far back, going, okay, the best 22 of the last year, the grand final team last year, we'll say, minus Joel.
This is the starting 22 after the bye. I know there's no such thing as a concept of a best 22 anymore, because you're going to have an injury a week. You're going to have maybe even fall. But let's go from Saturday night. They've played a really good game. They're building. They are playing.
Okay, so starting from this week, what are we changing? Yeah.
I feel bad because I'm going to end up leaving some players out here, Jazzalee. I don't like doing that. I just love putting players in. But I think if Dangerfield, Duncan, Holmes comes in, then who comes out?
Well, I loved the back line this week.
Yep.
I think as much as we love the work of O'Sheen, Duncan's probably might take his spot.
Well, and that's completely fine, because that's part of O'Sheen's development and growth. Is he's going to get experience, then he's going to go potentially out of the team. And then another pre-season build, and next year he might play 18 games, and it's part of that journey. So no, I think that's fair. That's not saying anything harsh.
The challenge is that it when those players were available earlier in the year, I think so. If you're looking at Danger and Holmes, possibly Tanner and Nevitt weren't in the team, but they've just had they're in great form. So
I don't think Tanner's going out anytime soon.
No.
Sammy Simpson was the sub, and I just think I love him. I just think he's so important to the group. I want him in the best 22. Does he get squeezed by Maxi Holmes? Maybe, but it's that sort of person. Mitch Nevitt. The one thing I will say is almost certain. I know Mitch is in his second season. There will be times where you're still not conditioned to a full season. He'll get tired, he'll get sore, and he'll just drop off a little bit. That's what being young does to you. And he'll possibly come out for little patches, but I still think he can be used again come finals, given his versatility and quality.
Ollie Henry's the other one who is new this year, has ebbed and flowed in influence on games, but brings something really exciting. And I thought, he was on the wing at different points this weekend, so he's getting moved a bit with the people that have come back into the side.
And he's a matchup nightmare.
Oh,
because of his ability to go up, his speed, his ground level work, his agility, all of that.
And I think their execution, like Tanner, what's he on now? Like 9 goals straight, I think they were saying on the weekend. Ollie's been finishing really well too, so still haven't dropped anyone.
This is good, Jazzalee. We've just tiptoed around this one. What I will say is once that group gets back, you think about that's almost predominantly midfield there, assuming Mitch plays, wing base, but maybe half back. That's just 3 more high-quality players that can be thrown at an opposition midfield and forecast ahead to Port Adelaide, Butters and Rosie and these guys. Then forecast to Melbourne, it's Oliver and Petrarca and Viney. Yeah. You need to go deep in the midfield. You need to sustain a way of playing. So 3 more in there who can just sustain it a little bit longer, sets it up very, very well.
Yeah, I'm excited by Holmes' pace coming back in, particularly against the youth of Port. So
yes. Yep.
Get him in.
I reckon we've dodged around that one very, very nicely, Meg, because we don't want to drop anyone because we love them. But that's where the coaches get to make the really tough calls. Before we finish up, though, I did mention that our podcast each week is brought to you by Morris. We really appreciate their support. For years, Morris has been supporting businesses and the community to generate success together. Now they are bringing their personal approach to personal finance. Cars, boats, caravans, motorbikes, jet skis. They are all about getting you out there living life. Let their team of finance specialists take on the life admin of arranging your finance so you can get on with life. Call Morris today on 1300 4MORRIS or head to morrisfinance.com.au. Meg, we're done.
We're done.
Bye week. We just put the feet up. We head off to Port Douglas, take the podcast on holidays for a bit. Jake and Troy are coming with us.
Unreal.
It's in our budget, isn't it? Yeah, no, sure. As Troy runs away from me.
It's like a struggle to get a sweat up here at training in the middle of winter, so Port Douglas sounds ideal.
Perfect. No, we will be back next week to look ahead towards the big Port Adelaide clash. They are playing great footy. They were just simply scintillating in that first half against Hawthorn, then put the Q in the rack. I was hoping they were going to win by 200 points just because of my sheer love of their opposition. We will look ahead to that one. I will try my hardest tomorrow at the All-Australian meeting.
Do it.
For a few names there, one in particular. But thank you again. We will be back next week.
Sounds good. See you then.